Satyr Wayfinder, Corsair Crewfix, 4 copies of DC Brute Tyrant, and 2 copies of DC Undead Vizier, which allows him to search up maybe a Torn Elemental, a Salumgar, the Drifting Death, a Dragonlord Salumgar, maybe a Soul of Innistrad, maybe a Hornet Queen. So that little package, and we'll get to his sideboard because he's got some other tools over there as well. This should be interesting. This is, we could change it to just Sidisi because that's what he's playing. He's got 6 copies of Sidisi throughout his deck.
Yeah, so what you should know about what Pear has done with the Ascendancy combo is he's moved away from the milling and treasure cruising strategy. He's still back on 11 mana creatures. None of them are Satyr Wayfinder. He's only on 2 Dig Through Time, no treasure cruise. Instead of trying to get that engine going, he's banking on Anticipate to set up his combo.
Well, Nystrom has a Frontier Bivouac. Duke has a Swamp and an Opulent Palace. And we are underway here in round number 4, our last round of standard action today. Jeskai Ascendancy combo, 3-0. Keep in mind, given the new structure of Invitational, no buys here, so he's won 3 matches legit.
Well, I mean, this is a deck that when Khans of Tarkir first came out, I was very much a fan of. I played it in Star City States and a couple other events myself. I was a big fan of it, and Sylvan Caryatid is the card you want in this deck. It is much better than your other 2-drops, than your Voyaging Satyrs and Radiclaw Mystics.
Both players with Caryatid.
Yeah, it's actually important that Reid has his own Caryatid here, because one way to interrupt the combo is to kill the mana creature, and because he may play cards like Bioblight, having his own copy of Sylvan Caryatid sometimes gives him a way to interact with his opponent's mana creature. If you Bioblight your own Caryatid, you do kill your opponents.
And that's one way to try to beat this deck.
It sounds ugly, I know. Like,
you gotta do what you gotta do. It's not the prettiest play as you mentioned, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Now, here's what's interesting. Yeah, Reid, great player that he is. Top 4 Players Championship, former Invitational champion, runner-up at our Season 3 Invitational. You have to wonder if he knows what he's up against right now, because this isn't a stock deck at this point. Yeah, it was popular after Pro Tour Khans of Tarkir, but it went away pretty fast.
Yeah, well, Frontier Bivouac into Plains is already setting off all sorts of alarms. There are no decks that do that outside of this combo deck. What you have to know about the Jeskai combo deck is that it's a Teamer-colored deck that just has to play white for Jeskai Ascendancy. So that Telltale Plains, I think Reid is savvy enough to know what's going on here.
It's definitely got to be setting off some warning bells. Here's a Voyaging Satyr as well. So now the question is, okay, Nystrom's deck is all over the place. What is he trying to accomplish? And we'll see if the Duke can figure it out. He drew a 1-swap T for the turn. Top card of his deck is a Tassiger.
Yeah, the difficulty here is that what Reid, if he knows what he's up against, he knows that he needs to leave open some removal. That if your opponent starts a game with, or a turn rather, with 2 mana creatures in play, and neither of them are going to die, Reid could definitely just be comboed out on the following turn. Pear has done enough setup to make it lethal.
Of course, who's coming into the red zone? Nystrom, going to lose a little bit of life here.
Yeah. And to that effect, these Jeskai decks, these Ascendancy combo decks, have traditionally been very good against Corsair Caryatid decks.
Sidisi, Brute Tyrant, going to turn over a couple of cards here. 2 Sidisis and a Tassiger. Top card's now Polluted Delta. Got a Zombie coming. Land's going to come now too, thanks to the Corsair. So that'll be a little bit of life gain. Llanowar waits on top of the deck here.
Yeah, and Reid is actually just set up very poorly game 1 for this matchup.
Yeah.
If you look at what he's doing a lot of diverse threat base. He has Sidisis, he has Caryatids, Corsairs. As far as spells go, he's got 4 Murders Cut, 3 Thoughtseize, 2 Downfall, and that's it. And that's typically not enough to disrupt this combo. Sultai deck's really robust, but it's not the best racing deck.
Reid going to sacrifice Blue Delta, get a Swamp, shuffle the Llanowar away. So we'll see the top card of the Duke's deck here in just a moment. Nystrom waiting very patiently. So that has access to a bunch of mana next turn. Colors won't be a problem either, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, both his creatures tap for any color at this point.
Thoughtseize on top of the deck. Tassiger being cast. You can see, once this deck really gets going, the Sultai Reanimator deck, it is pretty simple.
Well, Reid's doing exactly what he's supposed to do, which is the way to beat that he can interact game 1 is he has to have as fast of a clock as possible. And he's just playing everything to the board. That said, he is very likely dead right now.
This is Jeskai Ascendancy. Anticipate will allow these creatures to untap as well. Get to trigger the Ascendancy, untap the creatures. They get a little bit bigger. Here's a die to represent how big they are. Here's a Jeskai Ascendancy trigger, so draw and discard. Dragon's Mantle, that will be useful as we go. We're going to discard a copy of Briber's Purse. Now Anticipate will resolve. Take a look at 3 cards. Take 1 with you, which is a Retraction Helix.
The way you should think about this all comboing off is thanks to the mana creatures in Jeskai Ascendancy, all of his cards, all of his spells cost 2 mana less. So, and actually he has found the combo here. So how this works is he goes ahead and casts Retraction Helix on one of his creatures. At that point, he can tap his creatures to make 2 mana, or he'll tap his Voyaging Satyr to make a mana. He'll play Briber's Purse. It will untap his creatures. He'll then use the creature with the Retraction Helix to bounce Briber's Purse. And he can repeat that loop to net 1 mana every time. So he'll make infinite mana. At that point, because also every time he does this loop, he gets to loot once. He can loot as many times through his deck as he wants, which he'll do until he finds his 1 copy of Altar of the Brood. Then he'll put that into play and go back to doing the thing where he was just making mana. But because he makes Briber's Purse all these times, he will be able to mill. As it turned out here, he had another way to do it, where what he did there, so he didn't show off Altar. What he did is he played the Altar of the Brood, and he made infinite mana, as I said before. Then what he did is he cast Altar of the Brood on 1, and made it so all of Reid's creatures would
Briber's
use
Purse
it.
on 1.
Briber's Purse on 1, thank you. Briber's Purse on 1, made it so Reid's blocker could not block. Bounce the Briber's Purse, do it again. Make it so all of Reid's creatures can't block. And by the way, Jeskai Ascendancy happened to pump his mana creatures 20-odd times while he was doing this. So none of Reid's creatures can block. Pair has a Voyaging Satyr who doesn't have Defender and is a 20-power creature, and he'll just swing for lethal.
That's super easy to understand. Not complicated at all.
The deck's really cool.
It is really cool.
It shows off, I think it was one of those level 1 decks when the format first came out, and it really showed off how Jeskai Ascendancy is just a very unfair Magic card.
It's very tough for mid-range decks to beat this strategy, as Pair Nystrom does win game number 1 over Reid. Duke, Jeskai Ascendancy combo up a game here with Salter Reanimator. Duke's going to go to the board. We're going to go to his as well. You'll find 2 Sultai Charms, 2 Heroes Downfalls, 2 Bile Blights, 2 Doomweight Giants, a Thoughtseize of Duress, a Negate, a Disdainful Stroke, a Pharika, God of Affliction, a Drown in Sorrow, and a Treasure Cruise. Matthias, I know you have experience playing with this deck. What would you be scared of coming from Reid's sideboard?
I mean, anything that can interact at all. Okay, so Hero's Downfall kills a mana creature. Great. Sultai Charm kills a mana creature and kills a Jeskai Ascendancy. That's great. Thoughtseize, good. Bile Blight, good. Duress, Negate, awesome. Okay, so he has 9 cards out of his sideboard that do something. That is more than I would expect. So he'll probably board in all 9 of those. Maybe even the Treasure Cruise is a 10th one, because it's better than some of the stuff he has in his main.
So now, if you're Pair, you know what you're up against. You probably have a good idea. Maybe there's some new cards hanging out here that you haven't seen, but okay, Reid's playing Sultai Reanimator. I've seen Reid play this before in the Players' Championship, or at least certainly some form of this type of deck. In Pair's sideboard, he's got 3 Swan Songs, 3 Negates, a Voyaging Satyr, 2 Magma Sprays, a Briber's Purse, 3 Hornet's Nest, 2 Arc Lightning. Not the most beautiful sideboard I've ever seen.
One of the things that you can say about the Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck is its sideboard sure is some Swan Songs and a bunch of blank Magic cards. There are very few things you want to sideboard in. You board in the Swan Songs in nearly every matchup. This is another good one to board him in. He's boarding in a bunch of non-creature cards that are good against you, so he'll board in the Swan Songs. I think he'll probably bring in the Voyaging Satyr, the 4th one, so just have a 12th mana creature, because Reid is a black control deck as opposed to a blue one, so he'll be killing a lot of Pair's things. He needs a mana creature to go off. That will work just fine. He has some copies in the gate. He may use those. I don't know if he'll use all of them, but he'll use some number of them, and nothing else here is good.
Fair enough. Well, one place that you can play this deck, well, is the Pro Tour. That's happening in a couple weeks. If you like Pair Nystrom's Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck, or if you like Reid Sultai Reanimator deck, another place you can play it is States in a couple weeks if you're not qualified for the Pro Tour. 2 events also. Saturday, we've got Standard. Sunday, we've got Modern. So pretty cool stuff going on there.
Yeah, so with our state championships, we have those coming up. This is the 2nd time we've run them, and for the first time we have 2 different ones happening in the same weekend, and we have exclusive playmats for both of them. These are 2 unique ones. On Saturday, if you top it, you'll get this one. This is going to be Soldiers, and if you want to know the full part of the story, well, then you should look at the Sunday playmat, because on Sunday Modern, then you see the goblins that the soldiers are shooting arrows at. So if you manage to top 8 both these, you'll kind of notice these 2 go together to form a full art with the 2 of them. And there also is an exclusive champion playmat for the player finishing first on each day.
It's pretty awesome. Now you get to pair these things together. If you top 8 both of them, the artwork does go together. This might be the first time we've done this sort of thing on a playmat. I don't appreciate the goblins being attacked by arrows and bombs so much, but again, I kind of understand it. Goblins are not the nicest creatures.
That's the strategy of goblins. See, the thing is that I only can see about 5 bombs/arrows, and I see more. There's more than 5 goblins here, so it looks to me like the goblins are winning.
Yeah, we have to overwhelm you. Right. That's the trick to be able to beat you.
If you have more goblins than they have arrows for their bow, then you're going to win.
I'm a little concerned for the human playmat. There is, I believe, a elephant there. Perhaps that's a siege rhino that is attacking a horse. It looks a little dangerous for that archer, but again, he's attacking the goblins. I don't really feel terrible for him.
All right, well, you can find out this and all the info at starcitygames.com/states.
Game number 2 going to be underway here between Nystrom and Duke. Bear, when he makes a stop over to America, he does pretty well for himself here on the Open Series. Up a game against one of the very best Magic players in the world, certainly an Open Series superstar here in Reid Duke, and it's a tough matchup for Reid. Reid's play skill is not in question here, but sometimes the cards don't line up appropriately. It seems like a really tough matchup for him.
It is a tough matchup. Jeskai Ascendancy combo is a deck that keeps the format pretty honest. If people get too mid-rangey, then this deck will become good. You know, maybe in the wake of Grand Prix Miami, we saw Green-White Devotion closing out the finals. That should be an alarm bell of, hey, if people are going to play a deck like this might be a good time to play Ascendancy combo.
Yep. You can certainly take advantage. And rarely do we see combo decks in Standard like this. It's been a little while. Now this one is a little bit flimsy, though it's interesting because you may think that a combo deck like this needs a lot of things to really make it consistent, but maybe all it took was a card like Anticipate to fix its problems.
Yeah, and I've never really felt that this deck was all that, like, it's interesting when you talk about combo decks and how consistent they are. Yes, does this deck have great draws and poor draws? Absolutely. Its great draws are very good. There are turn 2 kills in the deck. One thing, what you have to think of then, okay, what does the deck do? It does not play through Disruption very well. If you kill other mana creatures, it has no plan B. It's all in on the combo. A card like Stain the Mind actually just beats the deck by itself. That said, it does do a decent job of, I guess, reloading and finding its pieces. If you don't pressure it, it will go ahead and it can find a second copy of the combo. It has a lot of scry, a lot of temples available to it, and cards like Anticipate.
Hey, I defer to your expertise on combo. You have played much more combo of your career than I have. I've played combo in a few tournaments, but not really in my speed. Combo typically just one big math problem, it seems. More your area of expertise.
Yeah, you can play through a hate card with this one. That's not terrible, but you have to force the combo through. You don't have any other plan.
The Temple of Mystery is where Duke will begin. Top card goes to the bottom. We'll head Nystrom's way. See Frontier Bivouac in hand. Dragon's Mantle with the draw. Bivouac will come into play, and we head back Duke's way. He'll take a draw.
You see with Pair's hand, basically you keep any hand with Jeskai Ascendancy in it. He has a Rattleclaw Mystic, a Jeskai Ascendancy, a Dragon Mantle. These are all great things. He has the one copy of Altar of the Brood in his hand. It's not preferred, but it's okay.
Pluto Delta will be sacrificed here by Duke. He'll go down to 19. Island or a Swamp coming. I think if you're Pair, you're just hoping you don't get hit by Thoughtseize here, probably.
Yeah, Thoughtseize is a great card against what you're trying to do. Take the Jeskai Ascendancy, and you'd have to find another.
Maybe a card, I don't know why I'm so hung up on Den Protector. Maybe sometimes a regrowth effect is what you need.
You could get back that polluted delta.
Yeah. Here's a Satyr Wayfinder.
Oh, you mean on the combo side
yeah.
of it?
Might be like an okay sideboard card. You did mention that the sideboard's so bad.
Yeah, so actually there are cards that you can play to do that. There's one out of, what is it, Journey into Nyx that gets back a creature or an enchantment or both for 3.
Oh, yeah, okay. So, I know what card you're talking about. The name is escaping me.
Which actually, the combo involves an Ascendancy plus a mana creature, so if they're both in your yard, you actually does get back both halves.
Latimer Waste going to go to the grip here for Reid. Rest will go to the graveyard. We'll head back Nystrom's way. It's just always, it's very depressing to look at the sideboard of the Jeskai Ascendancy combo deck because it is horrible.
Generally what it is one of the only your combo is good, and post-board you want to fight through disruptions, you need Swan Songs. The only matchup that's just on the face bad game one generally are aggro decks. Red deck wins is a really bad matchup. So your sideboards generally are 4 Swan Songs and a ton of hate cards for mono red. So you see here he has 3 Hornet's Nest, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Arc Lightning. I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. I've seen some players try to go bigger with like a card like Pelucranos before. Sigarda, something like that.
Savage Knuckleblade.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the issues is that you're not good at being at a plan B. Your plan Bs are still really bad. So it might just be better to do your plan A.
Well, plan A is not bad here. Jeskai Ascendancy still in hand. Sylvan Carry added off the top of the deck. Dragon's Mantle is going to come in, get the cantrip. Nystrom will get to play a land here. There's a Temple of Plenty, Scry. The nice thing about this deck is it's a lot more consistent, I think people think, because you have a decent amount of cantrips and temples.
Yeah, and you see he was very careful there to make sure he put Dragon Mantle on Sylvan Carry added. Did not want to get 2 for 1 there.
Or even just a boring old Satyr Wayfinder and a couple of lands in play.
So this play, the Dragon Mantle on Carry added, actually against decks like Red Deck Wins, is more relevant than you'd care to admit.
Pump it up on D.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep, no, that comes up. And It's not pretty, but it works.
Hey, whatever it takes. That's what I say. Well, Duke just played a fourth land. He passed the turn back. His fourth land was a Windswept Heath. He just has all this mana open. Now, Nystrom is looking at a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy in hand, and he's trying to figure out when's the best time to try to cast this thing.
And here's where I think the Ascendancy combo deck has a weakness, is that a lot of times in combo decks, when your opponent just sits back and does nothing and holds up 4 mana, you say, sure, I'll do that too. That's great. And you know, as the game goes on, it's, I'll collect, more Swan songs. I'll make my combo better. If you just take turns drawing cards off the top, that's not actually a great spot for the Ascendancy combo deck because so many of their draws really don't functionally change the game state. At some point, you just have to start going for your combo because this stall game isn't great for you.
Well, Pair displayed a Shivan Reef and passed the turn back. It looks like Reid may have run into a Thoughtseize for a draw step, and this is not a great card for Pair to be playing against.
Exactly.
See also the Brood, you see Jeskai Ascendancy, Voyaging Satyr, and then a copy of Yavimaya Coast.
Alter the Brood is one of the combo pieces, but Reid shouldn't overthink this. The take is Jeskai Ascendancy.
It is certainly the best card for the deck. It is what makes the card go, and now it's going to the graveyard.
It is the card for the deck. You need it to combo. It's as simple as that.
Now, Pair did have the opportunity last turn to obviously cast Jeskai Ascendancy if he wanted to. Mana is not an issue here, as there's a carry added for Duke. Looks like he's going to sacrifice his Windswept Teeth as well and search up either a Plains or a Forest. That just seemed like he was scared of a removal spell killing it, so he wanted to pick a better spot. How do we feel about holding it versus just deploying it?
So this is what I meant when I said the trading of card draws isn't great for the combo deck. Is I understand that he didn't want to play it because it seems pretty clear that Reid has some sort of removal spell. The difficulty is it's not like that's going to get much better at any point.
There's another carry added for Reid. So Reid knows now, okay, coast is clear. Let's deploy some stuff. Even if he peels a Jeskai Ascendancy, I'm not actually dead. So I'm doing just fine. Looks like Voyaging Satyr was the draw.
Yeah, well, I think he might have Commune with the Gods. No, you're right. It is just Voyaging Satyr. So he's going to set up. I mean, what this does mean is that because he has 3 mana creatures in play, Reid will have to hold up some mana because Pair certainly has the ability, on the turn, he draws Jeskai Ascendancy to just go nuts with mana.
Yeah.
He could fizzle by not finding enough spells, but that's about it.
Reid with a couple cards in hand here, Sultai Charm among them. Figuring out how he wants to move forward because, well, attacking is not a thing that's going to happen right now. He is tapping some mana now, however. Looks like 5 of it. And now it's time for Sidisi. Now that's a threat.
And, we talked about this before, how Sidisi is really powerful with cards like Satyr Wayfinder. And this just seems like a great spot for Reid.
The Undead Vizier is here. Reid will exploit, sacrificing his Satyr Wayfinder, and it's time to Demonic Tutor. This card just seems like a real backbreaker mid-range matchups because the card that Reid is searching up here is very difficult for Pair to beat given the situation. It looks like he's going to take a negate.
Yeah, negate seems great.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons, like I said, it's why the Jeskai deck fell out of favor, but is that situations like this do happen pretty frequently with the deck. You can try to get out of it. The more Treasure Cruises and Dig Through Times you add to your deck, the better these situations get, because then you have large card drawers. Say, hey, if we just trade card draws, I'll start drawing 3, watch out. In the way Pair has built his deck, I think he is faster, but I don't think he is as resilient.
Good old Sidisi might be the kind of card that starts to dominate mid-range mirrors.
It's very good here.
In combination with Bavarabos, in combination with, as you mentioned, Satyr Wayfinder, heck, even a useless copy of Sylvan Caryatid. There are a lot of things to exploit, and also blocking it's going to be real tough. Let's see what this is going to be. Well, now it's Torrent Elemental. Pair's got some reading to do.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of the Sultai decks do this. They become threat heavier, and cards like Sidisi and Torrent Elemental. This is, I think, a new take on the archetype, really.
And Torrent Elemental is interesting to me because this is a card that people have really started to play as now here's a dig through time for Pair. So actually, this goes a little bit interesting. Reid does have a negate in hand, so he could counter this if he'd like to. But Torrent Elemental, 5 mana, 3/5 flyer. When Torrent Elemental attacks, tap all creatures defending player control. So it just allows you to just keep beating him in the face, basically.
Reid had an option there. If he negates, now he's dead to a top deck Ascendancy. If he lets the dig through time resolve, there's a chance that Pair finds Ascendancy plus negate or Ascendancy plus Swan Song, which also would beat Reid. I think he was right to negate the dig.
The draw was Frontier Bivouac, so nothing too bad happened. Pair going to play another copy of Voyaging Satyr and simply pass the turn back over to Duke. Duke is going to untap all these lands, take a draw step here in just a moment. But Torrent Elemental will allow him to really pick up the damage race and put Nystrom on a real clock. Wasn't sure if we'd see Torrent Elemental in Constructed, but it is a one-of here in Duke's deck, and part of the reason it's a one-of course, is because he can tutor it up with Sidisi if necessary. Duress will take care of the Altar of the Brood, leaving Nystrom with Yevmaikos and a Frontier Bivouac. Here's an attack for a bunch of damage.
It's actually a really important duress because what it means is that now even if Nystrom draws the Ascendancy, he doesn't have a spell in his hand to start the chain. And you see that he actually, exactly that happened.
Yep.
If he had the Altar the Brood, he may be able to win this turn.
Well, he's going to deploy the Jeskai Ascendancy. Reid, all he can do is say, yes, that resolves.
Yeah, and Reid knows that Nystrom can't combo off this turn.
Yep, hands just a land. Knows that because of the duress. So all Duke can try to do is pick up the pace here. Torrent Elemental is really nice in the situation because no chump blocking allowed.
Right.
So that's actually really, really nice. Reid's going to get to attack for 7 every turn. There's nothing Bear can do about it. And now Sultai Charm will take care of that. And that'll likely close the door on the game. Bear's going to read the Sultai Charm, make sure he knows exactly what it does. But part of the reason Sultai Charm is so powerful is because it does destroy enchantments. Makes a really, really nice card. Reid's going to win this game, and these two players are going to get ready for a third one.
Yeah, pretty good clinic by Reid, and shows where there's some weakness in the Ascendancy deck. You can punch holes in it, and the cards that Reid played that mattered was a Thoughtseize, a Negate, and a Duress, and that's about it.
But the cards that he did play, all really good.
Yeah,
in the matchup. Duress looked great, Thoughtseize looked great, Negate looked great, and Sidisi also. Sidisi would have been a problem the entire game, allowing Reid to exploit, and then also forcing Death Toucher means that it just gets to mow through those annoying creatures.
Yeah, where the Ascendancy combo deck has strength is that, remember, on the play, there exist turn 3 and even turn 2 kills here.
Okay.
And that's why, that's where the strength comes from. As soon as you get to turn 5, the deck doesn't start play particularly well.
Well, very briefly, as these players do shuffle up here for game number 3, we will talk about Next Level Magic by Patrick Chapin. New 2015 edition available, paperbook and ebook. You can go to StarCityGames.com/NLM for more information about it. We'll also be talking about later in the broadcast next level deck building as well from Chapin. This guy just, when he's not writing 8,000 word articles, which he did yesterday, that should be live on the premium side of the website, exploring Dragons of Tarkir and all of its colors. He's just putting together very large books for the masses to read.
Yeah, I mean, Chapin is one of the great theorists in the game and has been for quite a while. This is a brand new edition which has been updated for 2015. It's been redesigned with new graphics and a layout, and we guys have it back in paperback with over 400 full color pages.
It is awesome. Patrick Chapin, the innovator, the Hall of Famer, the Pro Tour champion. The only thing he's got to do now is get that World Championship. Just 2-time runner-up. It's a rough life to beat, Pat. Really
that is
difficult.
true. That is two. Oh man, that is 2-time now, isn't it?
Yeah, 2-time world's runner-up. I don't know how he sleeps at night. It must be really difficult.
He manages.
Next Level Magic, available at StarCityGames.com/NLM right now as we do turn our attention to game number 3 here between Bear Nystrom and Reid Duke. Nystrom flew across the Atlantic to come do battle in this tournament. Duke, well, not too far for the Sugarloaf New York native. No, he's got a Pro Tour in a couple of weeks, a Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir in Brussels. But we oftentimes see him at the Invitationals here on the Open Series. Second place at our Season 3 Invitational, lost to Tom Ross in the finals there. But that qualified him for the Players' Championship where we saw him make the top 4, winning, not a stranger to Reid. Does it all the time.
No, not at all. He had, a great season last year, top 8ing, 3 of the 4 Invitationals, I believe.
Either 2 or 3. Either 2 or 3. It may have been 3.
I believe it was 3. And at a 3-0 start, I mean, as good as you can be so far.
Yeah, not a surprise, I tell you. I'm interested to see what he's playing in Legacy. Most of the time we see Reid Legacy, he's playing Miracles.
Right.
Don't know if he's going to stick with that or not this week, and haven't had the opportunity to sit down and talk with him yet about his Legacy weapon of choice. But it wouldn't surprise me to see him spinning some tops. He's had some legendary matches. I think about the Players' Championship match, him and Ross Merriam, when Reid was playing Miracles and spinning tops against Ross playing Elves and barely hanging on at 1 life for multiple turns. It was a lot of fun to watch, so hopefully we'll get the opportunity to see him do it again with Miracles and Legacy throughout this tournament. But for right now, his Sultai Reanimator deck off to a great start. I imagine we'll probably have a deck tech with him about it at some point. And again, what I really like about this deck is just the bullets that are available due to Sidisi, which has been a pretty impressive card.
Yeah, the Sidisi is really nice, and I imagine it serves him great in these mono black mirrors. It's nice in this matchup because it still plays here. You know, finding that negate was really powerful that game.
It's just one negate in the board, too. It allows him to build his deck and his sideboard in a certain way. One Treasure Cruise. I like the fact that Farika is a card that's really, really good mid-range matchups, but you don't want to draw a second one ever. And the fact that he can just play one, and it gives him a virtual 3 copies because he has 2 copies of Sidisi, Undead Vizier, and then the 1 Farika itself. Looks like Pierre's going to take a mulligan here.
Somewhat frequent with this deck to mulligan. That said, it mulligans very well.
Yeah, I was going to ask if this deck mulligan's okay.
I mean, I think the deck construction part of the deck that you have to be annoyed by is that you need Ascendancy to win, and there's only so many ways to find it. So you have to play 4 Jeskai Ascendancy. You have to play 4 Commune with the Gods. I guess with 4 Anticipate, maybe you can now find it. Maybe we're at the point where you don't feel so bad about this anymore, but you cannot combo without the card.
Yeah. Pierre mulligan very, very quickly. He knew that, okay, this hand's no good. Let's send it back. And Reid, I thought a little bit about his mulligan, but he's going to send it back as well. So both players are taking a look at 6 cards in just a moment here. Again, for those of you guys just joining us at home, we do appreciate having you. Cedric Hills, Matthias Hunt, and Patrick Sullivan. Also joined by Nick Miller, Ken Crocker, and the rest of the SCG Live crew. We are here in Richmond, Virginia for our Season 1 Invitational. 571 players have come out to do battle to play this brand new standard format of Dragon's Dark here. We, of course, have Legacy as well, rounds 5 through 8 today, so stay tuned for that. And eventually, over these 3 days, we will crown a champion, give someone $10,000, their likeness on a card, and they will punch a ticket to the Players' Championship to join Brad Nelson and Jim Davis. Could be Per Nystrom as he starts things off with a Temple of Abandon.
Well, Per's kept the kind of hand that you need to keep here. I think he's kept a 1-lander with a lot of mana creatures and a Jeskai Ascendancy. So I'm very quickly scryed to the bottom. I believe it's 3 mana creatures, Twin Flame, Jeskai Ascendancy.
Hard to pass that up.
Yeah, Reid, I think, is at the ready with the Duress, so he'll be able to race that Ascendancy out by just 1 turn.
Very important for Pierre to draw a land next turn. Even if it enters the battlefield tap, it's still fine. But he did scry to the bottom with the Temple of Abandon very quickly.
Yeah, and it's not, you know, this is a hand that you almost always need to keep. You keep this on 7, actually, with the deck.
So many lands this deck has. 21, not a ton. Let's see if he draws one. He does. It's a Frontier Bivouac.
Turns out to not hurt him. He was going to lose that Ascendancy anyway, so having a mana creature this turn versus next turn isn't actually that significant.
See if Reid's going to fire off one of these discard spells. He's giving it a little bit of thought at this point.
Yeah. He also has the Caryatid, so he has his white mana. That can also be a concern when looking at the lands of the deck. You have to make sure you actually have a white source.
Duke will Duress.
Yeah, I think Reid was debating whether or not he could wait 1 more turn to get a little more info. It's not possible for the Ascendancy deck to combo off of nothing on turn 3.
Reid going to take a look at Twin Flame. Wants to make sure he knows exactly what this does. Basically just a combo piece in this deck. Nothing else too crazy going on.
Yeah, it lets you combo off different board states. You know, you can start with a Sylvan Caryatid and then Twin Flame. Say you need to kill with an attack, you can start your combo off just Sylvan Caryatids, play another mana creature, and then Twin Flame one of your other mana creatures so that the new one has haste and can attack.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you had just Caryatids, you can't actually attack for 20 because they all have Defender.
Nystrom's draw for the turn was a copy of Anticipate. He'll deploy Sylvan Caryatid and pass the turn back. That's the safest mana accelerant to play given the situation, thanks to Hexproof.
Yeah, it would be tempting to anticipate for a land there, but the truth of the matter is, Per doesn't actually need another land. He has mana creatures, he just needs the Ascendancy.
It does have Rattleclaw Mystic and Voyaging Satyr in hand, so mana a little bit slow to develop, but not going to be much of an issue. Just going to sacrifice the blue to Delta. We'll have an island or a swamp coming here in just a moment, and we'll see what Reid wants to do with 3 mana.
The deck only wants 2 lands in play, really.
Okay. Would rather have mana creatures in play?
The combo is mana creatures plus Ascendancy, and once you have 2 lands, you can cast the Ascendancy, and you have mana as long as you have the mana creature. There's no, you know, there's no need for any more lands at this point.
Sure. There's a Satyr Wayfinder. We'll have a trigger here in just a moment. 4 cards will be turned over. We'll see if Reid can find a land. He's not in a ton of trouble just yet. Tasker, Wayfinder, a Temple, and a Sultai Charm are the cards. So Temple of Malady will go to the grip. And now Tasker will come into play. So pretty nice turn there for the Duke.
Yeah, it's nice because it gives him a 4-power creature, which, you know, an essential part of doing well against a combo deck is to have a clock.
Now that morph could be anything.
Yeah, it could be any. Such as Morphin constructed that, you know, maybe it's Ash Cloud Phoenix. You never know. It's gonna just flip it up and start foring Reid.
We do know that is a Rattleclaw Mystic, but that burst of mana is actually pretty helpful for Nystrom to actually get a couple cards out of his hand here.
Could just really blow him. It could be Sagu Mauler. It could just really blow Reid out.
Tasker's going to come into the red zone. Nystrom's going to go down to 16.
No, it's only Rattleclaw Mystics.
Let's see if Pear draws this turn. Again, remember, he's down 1 Ascendancy. Looks like Mana Confluence was the draw.
Mana's not unwanted at this point because he does want to cast Anticipate at some point here.
I think Pear's going to try to figure out how he can get the most for his turn. Mana-wise, on flipping Rattleclaw Mystic, get the burst of mana, be able to tap it for mana. Try to deploy a bunch of stuff here. Anticipate's far and away the best card in his hand right now, though, because that can turn into something relevant.
Yeah, it's the only card that can turn into Jeskai Ascendancy.
Yeah.
So.
There's Rattleclaw. There's a burst of mana. There's a Voyaging Satyr.
So he has 1 floating right now.
He'll play another Rattleclaw Mystic. Mana Confluence as well. Pass the turn back. 2 mana available to be able to cast Anticipate.
He's setting up for a big Jeskai Ascendancy turn.
Well, he would certainly like to. We're going to get a Tasker activation here. So DC is the card that will go to the grip. Opulent Palace is the other card. Of course, can't give him a land, so non-land spell goes back.
Yeah, so DC not at her best here because if Reid really can't afford to tap out for it, if he does and Pear finds the Jeskai Ascendancy off Anticipates, then it won't really matter what Sidisi got.
Yeah, the game could just end on the spot. Reid gonna look over his hand here. We know he's got Sidisi. Not sure how much else. Remember, he did take a mulligan this game. He's gonna start by attacking here for 4. Nystrom's gonna go down to 12. Do have to be a little worried about a card like Negate, maybe some other counter magic, since Reid is playing blue. He is Sultai after all, not Abzan. So that's certainly something to think about in this situation.
Yeah, and what Reid has to balance is there's only so many of his cards that matter right now. You know, it may be better for him to simply, if he has a copy of Sultai Charm, to just leave up Sultai Charm and do nothing else for the foreseeable future. That may be a better play than playing any other threats. That said, if he does that, he is liable to, you know, get chump blocked, and Pear could buy himself a lot of turns.
Oh, he's making his move right now. He's going to play Sidisi. He's going to exploit a Satyr Wayfinder. His shields are completely down, and he's hoping he doesn't die.
If Pear finds a copy of Jeskai Ascendancy off this Anticipate, it is going to be off to the races.
Reid going to search up. Looks like maybe Negate again. We saw this play pattern last game. Looks like he's going to go with it again.
So here's what I would think. If Reid actually doesn't have a card like Sultai Charm in his hand, I think this is the right play, because you could leave up mana to bluff having one of those cards, but the thing is that Pear probably just has to call your bluff.
Most likely.
Yeah, he's probably just going to run into your open mana, so might as well make the strongest play. You see Pear found Swan Song. It wasn't just Jeskai Ascendancy, but it's the next best thing, really.
For what it's worth, you know, Reid tapping out to basically Demonic Tutor for Negate. Negate is very powerful against Pear's deck.
Yes.
So, yes, Pear just did find a Swan Song, which is actually rather good in this situation, but basically Reid's saying, I dare you to find Ascendancy. I know you have an Anticipate. I saw it with the Duress. Your deck is powerful, but it's not that powerful. Okay. And ends up not having anything. So now Reid gets to untap. He's got a 4-6 in play now in Sidisi. He's got a 4-5 in Tassiger. He's got Negate in hand, and some other options as well. And now life's pretty good, and these attacks are pretty good.
Yeah, well, he has him on a 2-turn clock. He's going to force Pear to combo, and Pear just may never find the Jeskai Ascendancy.
Yeah. Pear's down to 3. Reid's going to play a Temple. Take a look at the top card. That one's going to stay on top. He'll pass the turn back over to Nystrom. Nystrom will take a draw. Looks like it was just a land. Nothing certainly of consequence. Carry added.
Yeah, he does have chump blocks available to him for at least one more turn.
Yep.
Though to be fair, if he chumps away 2 of his creatures, I mean, he has to make sure to chump away the Rattleclaw Mystics. So otherwise, Reid can play land 7. And he actually has a Doomwake Giant in his hand, which could sweep away Pair's remaining mana creatures.
Reid going to activate Tasigur. Reclamation Sage and the other Sidisi. It's the Sidisi party.
Yeah, given that it doesn't really matter for that to give Reid Reclamation Sage. That's not going to do anything. That card matters. Sometimes you just play out Ascendancy to avoid duress, or you play it out and you miss on a combo, and those are situations where Reclamation Sage is pretty good. But those aren't Pair's paths to victory anymore anyway.
Here are the attacks.
Yeah, Pair has to actually be heads up and jump away these Rattleclaw Mystics so it doesn't get Doomwaked.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting about if you're supposed to play Doomwake pre-combat or post-combat. And yeah, now we get this. Yeah, now this is perfect for Reid, right? Because now he gets to play Doomwake Giant.
If he has land 7, I think he would not want to take down Negate to play Doomwake.
Okay.
So yeah, with no land 7, okay, doesn't matter.
Carry added just a passing of the turn.
And it was Yav Coast for Pair, so it's not going to hit his Ascendancy, and I don't know if he can survive for another turn.
Yeah, I think Pair thinking, okay, I can chump block for another turn here and be okay, but again, because of the Doomwake Giant that we believe Reid does have in his hand, life should be okay here for the Duke. It looks like he's going to activate Tasigur. Maybe not. Just untap, take a draw.
Yeah, I don't think he wants Dig Through Time to resolve. And it's not like the cards in his hand are already winners. He doesn't need more cards.
Here's Doomwake Giant. That'll trigger Constellation. That means everything's going to -1/-1, and that's an extension of the hand. Reid Duke is going to win this match here for Pair Nystrom. 2-1. Salted Reanimator will take care of Jeskai Ascendancy combo. The Duke off to another great start in Invitational. He's 4-0.
Yeah, can't ask for a much better start. For Pair Nystrom, 3-1's a pretty good start too. If you can 3-1 each of the 4 legs of the tournament, that's usually been good enough for a top 8 finish.
Well, we'll see how things do break. Again,